Welcome everyone to our What's New in Magnolia release. Today we're actually going to be talking about two separate releases, Magnolia, which is our consolidation feature, and then Magnolia Home, which is our redesigned accounting home and accounting settings. Today's agenda, we're going to go through consolidations, an overview, and a demo. And then we're going to do home, which actually is two parts. We're going to go over the new homepage and the new accounting settings as a preview. And then we're going to talk about an amortization feature that's getting redone in this one. And the last thing we'll talk about is rollout. So consolidations, this is a completely new feature. It's built in Lightning Web Components. It'll allow users to create ledger hierarchies and to post elimination entries. It'll allow users to run consolidation routine on parts or an entire ledger hierarchy. And now I'm going to turn it over to our product owner, Aparna, to do a demo of consolidations.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, John. In the course of this demo, I'll go over the main ledger types that we've added, some important business rules around how to set up a ledger hierarchy. Then we'll set up a ledger hierarchy, run the routine on this hierarchy that we create. And finally, we'll take a look at a standard financial report and a custom one that's run on this consolidated ledger. So starting from Magnolia, starting from our accounting home, I'll go straight to ledgers to show you the two new types that we've added. So if I go into a new ledger record page, the type field now has two additional entries that you'll see, consolidations transactional and consolidations budget. The eliminations types are there, but these are created by the system, so they don't show up in the pick list. And any users that want to adopt this feature will need to add, any existing users will need to add this, add these two pick list values to this type field. I'll go ahead and add one to demo the creation of this and how the elimination ledger gets created when this consolidation ledger is created. So I'm going to set one up called ABC Global, which is going to house one or two of these ledgers on the screen behind. One of the considerations I need to think about is what currency I'm going to choose. And I'll show you why when we do the ledger hierarchy. So I'm going to leave it as USD, and I'm going to choose the consolidations transactional type. I don't need to enter any of the other fields, and I will click on save. And when I return to the ledgers list view, you will see that it added the consolidations transactional ledger that we just created, and then this eliminations ledger was added by the system. And it has this -el suffix, which you can change to something that makes sense to you. Now let's look at the new user interface that we added for the setting up and the running of the routine. So again, going back from accounting home, I will navigate from the financial reporter. And you'll notice that there are two new tabs here, the run and the setup consolidations. On the setup consolidations tab, this is where I'd come to create my ledger hierarchy to add my transactional ledgers or budget ledgers. So to first set up my ledger hierarchy, I need to create the top level ledger, which must be a consolidations ledger. So this button here is to do that. And when I'm going to use the ledger that I just created, it shows me this type here. So two things. One is that the type is decided, the type of hierarchy is decided when I enter this, when I create this top level ledger, which means that if I choose a consolidations transactional ledger, then I can only add transactional ledgers to that, or consolidations transactional ledgers. If my consolidation ledger that I had created was a budget kind, then that hierarchy type would only allow consolidation budget or budget ledgers. So I'll go ahead and add this, and you will see that once it's added, it brings along the elimination ledger that was created. So you see here, this elimination ledger. The other consideration is the currency. And in this phase, what we're doing is for a particular ledger hierarchy, you can only have one currency. And when we bring out foreign currency translations in a future release, we will make changes to this limitation. I can add my transactional ledger to this, to a consolidations ledger by using these action buttons on the right. And I can add a ledger, and I will add, I believe it was ABC trucking. And I'm going to save. And this gets added as a child to this ledger hierarchy. The other actions here are to remove a ledger and to edit. And the edit allows you to modify the display order of these ledgers. So if maybe I want my eliminations ledger to be listed right at the bottom or somewhere else, I can change that. And the ledgers that can be removed are the consolidation or the transactional ledgers. Before I show you how the routine is run, just want to go back to the presentation for a second and just go over some important business rules about these different ledger types. So consolidations ledger, like the one we just created, can only really exist on one ledger hierarchy. And it's the only type of ledger, it's the only kind of ledgers that can be parents in a hierarchy. So I can't add, for instance, I can't add a child consolidation ledger to a transactional ledger. The other restriction is that you cannot post any records to this to a consolidations ledger. The consolidation cubes get created as a result of the routine, so only those can be posted to that ledger. For the eliminations ledger, we saw that the addition and is only based on the adding of the parent consolidation ledger, and so is the removal. The only action that's available on the ledger hierarchy on the setup tab is that you can modify where it's displayed. The purpose of this elimination ledger is so that you can post manual journal entries or recurring journal entries to these ledgers. So those lookups, the ledger lookups, allows you to enter any elimination ledger. Ledger hierarchy, one of the main rules about the ledger hierarchy is that if there are any consolidation financial cubes which are created once you run the routine, it can't really be modified. So that's a guardrail that's in place. And finally, the last type of ledger which exists already, the transactional ledger, this can exist on more than one hierarchy. Just go back to my org to show you that. Expand all. So for instance, in this ledger hierarchy that I already have created, this Acme Frozen Foods is a transactional ledger. And if for some reason I want to create a separate ledger hierarchy on which it makes sense to bring this transactional ledger, I could associate it to that. The restriction is only for consolidation ledgers. They can exist only on a single hierarchy. So in the course of the accounting period, transactions get posted to the transactional ledgers, and when it's time to and also the elimination ledgers through the journal entries, you would post adjustment entries or elimination entries to them. When it's time to close the accounting period, the period closing process actually creates the elimination period cubes. So that's taken care of in that close process. Once the period is closed, then we can run a consolidation routine on that accounting period. The run tab is very similar to the setup consolidations tab. It has the exact same ledger hierarchies that are there on the other one, and it also shows you it shows you more details about the routine itself, and when it was run, successfully, and who it was generated by, and so on. So these two are output fields which just show when the last period was closed, when the last period that was closed, and when it was closed. I don't have a lot of data on this hierarchy that I created, but I do have a fair amount in this one. So I'll go ahead and run the consolidation routine on this Acme USA. This one has two main consolidation ledgers. You can see food products and pet care, and it has an elimination ledger to which I've posted some journal entries. So to run the consolidation routine, I have again action buttons off to the right, and I can run them at the parent level, which means I'm consolidating values that maybe I already ran them previously for these ledgers, and I just need to consolidate the top level. I would choose that. If I choose the second option to run everything, to run with children, what this is doing is going right to the bottom, the lowest level of the ledger hierarchy, and aggregating all the financial cubes all the way up and creating consolidation cubes at each level and consolidating them all the way to the top. So I ran this routine on this consolidation ledger for August. So and my 2021-09 is closed. So let's go ahead and run it with children. So it consolidates everything. And 09. And this will show me a toast message that it's started. And it'll take a couple of minutes. There's not a lot of cubes, so it shouldn't take too long. And this status changes to in progress to indicate that the routine is running for this particular ledger hierarchy. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then you can see that the status is set to completed, which means that this run has been successful. In the off chance that there's an error, you will have an automated job result record that's created, as well as a record in the exception report for this job. So now that the routine has run successfully and we have consolidation cubes at this level for Acme USA, let's take a look at a standard financial report. I'll just choose the P&L, and at the moment the consolidation happens at the GL account level. So I'm going to choose USA and just run it for this period. And I'll leave everything else. And you can see that the GL variables are all grayed out. It's for this reason, because we are not consolidating at the moment on the GL variable level. So I'll run this report. Give it a minute. And it's done. Let's take a look at this consolidated report. And you'll see that the report is familiar. If you've used if you have our Lily release, then you'll see that all the reports now look very similar and familiar. It follows the same structure. And these are all from the consolidated financial cubes for Acme USA. You'll notice that there is no drill down at the moment. It's because these are cubes, and our drill down is to the ledger inquiry, which supports transactions. So for a consolidated ledger, we don't have drill downs at the moment. Now let's take a look at a custom report. P&L again, and for 09. And this one has the two consolidation ledgers and then the child elimination ledger, and finally it has a column with the consolidated top level ledger. So let's take a look at this report. And this one gives you a little bit more granular breakup of the consolidated amounts that we saw on the earlier one. And it shows you by consolidation ledger what those amounts are. You'll notice that the eliminations ledger has links, has hyperlinks. So you can click into these because these are from journal entries that were posted, right? So that brings me to the end of this demo. Back to you, John.
Thanks. All right, Magnolia is coming, was pushed actually to sandboxes last Sunday. So if you've not gotten it in your sandbox, if you want to reach out to the product consulting team, they could help with that. We are planning on starting production pushes on the 7th of November. So this is coming soon. And the next thing we want to talk about is the subsequent release, which will be accounting home and settings. We're going to go through a wireframe review with Aparna. Again, this is going to be completely redesigned in LWC. It's a much improved homepage and accounting settings. We basically went through and relooked at everything, moved some stuff around, and improved the usability. And now Aparna is going to do another demo.
Thanks. So as John said, this is a wireframe demo because this is currently what the product development team is working on. So this is just a simple wireframe, shows our mascot buddy welcoming everyone in a cheerful manner. We have a few things that are familiar from our past accounting home. We have a direct link to our university and the accounting knowledge base. We have two, well, before I say that, this whole page in our first phase of accounting home is built with Lightning App Builder. So this page is going to be something that you can add your components to. Some of the components that we are adding are this current period, last period closed, and we will have a Magnolia, we'll have some more release information in future releases, but for now this tells you the release and it will show you the version that you currently have installed. The big change that we made was also to the menus and the way that our links are now organized. So they are organized by personas. We have three main menu tabs: the create entries, run reports, and setup. Create entries is modeled after people who create records in the system, cash in, cash out, various records, banking, and so on. And all these will directly take you to the same list views, or the lightning tabs, as in the case of Bank Direct Connect. The run reports is modeled after the person that's likely to look at standard custom reports, run consolidations, and we have also added a small utilities section here. The setup is a menu tab that's really for the administrator, where master data will be set up and so on. This is also the place where we have, if you remember the old accounting settings Visualforce tab, we have taken the information on all of the tabs on that main Visualforce page and reorganized it into various Lightning pages. So automated jobs, post settings, all of these other than PDF formats, tax settings, stripe and purge data. These are all from that old accounting settings page, and they'll be remade in Lightning. So, oh, we just did that. The other feature, the other big feature for Magnolia Home is our amortization update that we are bringing. This is now redesigned completely in Lightning. In the user interface, we've increased the period range. It used to be just 12, now it is 60 accounting periods. We have added two new options, a monthly amortization as well as a straight line prorated for the first and end month. All this is enabled via API, and as you can see from this flow that was put together, this is all possible with this new amortization feature that we have in this next release. We also have the ability to preview calculations before you can create and post. I'll do a quick demo and then invite our CTO Ryan to speak a little bit about the flows. Ryan, would you like to go first, or should I show the wireframe?
Sure, I'll jump in, just do a quick introduction. So for those who have not met personally, my name is Ryan Seavey. I'm joining the leadership team here at Accounting Seat as CTO. And amortization is a feature I'm particularly excited about, just because it's really focusing on that API, really allowing us to extend all the automation capabilities that Salesforce has to offer. So building this API here allows us to use things like Flow. But I think this is a particularly exciting use case for this type. So yeah, Aparna, I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, I'll show you the wireframe really quickly. Not that, this one. So from the billing, there's an amortized revenue button. On the payable, there's an amortized payable. When you click into that, you will get this wizard that takes you, first allows you to choose which amortization method you want. For the purposes of this wireframe, it's monthly. And we'll click next. This pre-populates the amount as it used to. The user would then enter accounting periods up to 60. That's the limit in the UI. You'd enter a start date for your amortization, and then based on these two entries, the end date is calculated. And at this point, you can click on this preview calculations button to look at what these amounts look like for the various periods. Okay. Back. On the next stage of this wizard, I'd get to enter all my dimensions. The debit GL and credit GL are pre-populated from a new setting on accounting settings. So these will pre-populate for billings and for payables. And then I can preview the same things here as well again, or I can go and create my entries straight away. When I create these entries, they'll post if the auto post setting is enabled, then they will continue to auto post. If it's not, then they will wait for the scheduled job to pick them up and post them. John, back to you.
All right. The next things we wanted to talk about is items from your feedback that we've rolled into these two features. So under Magnolia, we display additional source fields for improved matching for Bank Direct Connect. We have the balance sheet GL accounts to filter on account, product, and project for the ledger inquiry report. In Bank Rec, we added a guardrail to prompt before clear all or unclear all are carried out. Under Magnolia Home, we're going to add post and unpost buttons to the cash disbursement list view. Running balance has been added to the ledger inquiry report. Clone is credit memo to take negative quantity amount setting from accounting settings or enablements in a new menu. Bank Recs create next button populates the beginning balance from prior Bank Recs statement ending balance when inserted between two existing Bank Recs. Bank Recs uncleared deposits updates with a sum of records associated to a bank deposit with record dates that are before the Bank Recs statement ending date. Journal entry line, billing line, and payable line to default their line date values to respective header date. And last but not least, billing cash receipts, account receivable, and adjustment transactions will tag the account on the billing. Sandbox push is coming in December of this year. And now we'll throw it out to questions. So a question here on how do I give feedback for future releases? Currently, the best way is to create a case today. We are actually in the process of talking about a new and better way in the future, but for now, that kind of feedback would be great. We would be welcome it.
We had another question about the consolidation ledger, and the consolidation ledger is non-transactional. Basically, you cannot post a transaction directly to the consolidations ledger. The only thing that will be used for is for rolling up the different transaction ledgers into a consolidated view. From that perspective, it won't be hooked up into other situations like Stripe or any of the others. Those will strictly be on the transaction ledgers as they are today. That won't change. And just to clarify on the sandbox pushes, the initial push to the sandbox is Magnolia. The Magnolia Home, which is the rewrite of the homepage and a couple other features that our partner had talked about, that is going to be a separate push that will be sent out to your sandboxes in December. So you already have the current version of the Magnolia with all of the consolidation work in your sandbox today. Some questions concerning existing functionality. If you have custom functionality, then and you're concerned about what the consolidations would be, that's the perfect example of what the sandbox is for, and we recommend that you thoroughly test in the sandbox prior to the push to push out to production.
We have a question on the dates again. So Magnolia, with the Consolidations release, was pushed out last Sunday. So if you did not get it, please reach out to the product consulting team and they can help you with that. The production push for that is 7 November will be the first one. And then the second one, I don't remember the date exactly, but it's slightly later in November. And then Sandbox for Magnolia Home is going to be December of this year.
Again, to clarify on the accounting homepage, it's the accounting homepage that you would get that has the different boxes and the links that are within the boxes for the cash in and cash out. That's the homepage that's being rewritten, and that will then link out to the different pages that you're used to seeing. This is, as you can see on your screen, this is the accounting homepage that's being replaced. Oh, how can we do this? Just a reminder, if you have a specific question about a specific item, for instance, on how to adjust groupings or something like that on a report, we probably recommend that that be submitted on a case, and that way a product consultant can specifically talk to you about your situation. We're here to help you, but definitely, put in a case, and that way we can look at it and address it and look at what you're doing. All right. And if you don't receive a push, then you certainly can put in a case request that we give you the most current version. We do put out periodic dot releases. So if there's a question about what release we're on versus what release you have, you can always put in a case and ask about it, and we'll be certainly happy to help you. And if Magnolia is not in your sandbox, then simply put in the case, say that you didn't receive the push, and we will be happy to send you the links to allow you to install it. And then there was a question about what if it's your amortization is uneven, it's different amounts in different periods. If that were the situation, then I probably would recommend that you use our amortization tool, simply because our amortization tool is either based on the number of days in a month, a flat amount each month, or the third option, which was a prorated amount in the first and 12th and the rest of the year, rest of the periods leveled out. If you do have a very odd amortization schedule, then you might want to consider using a journal entry to amortize them out.
There's a question here. If you didn't get the last poll update, Lily, will those be included? And the answer is yes. These are all cumulative, so Magnolia will include Lily's updates. So you'll get the new financial reporter.
Magnolia, unlike Lily previous, where it was an optional pull if you wanted to receive it, Magnolia is a push, and it will be pushed out to all production org. So it's not really an optional release. If there is a situation where you have a specific requirement, then I would recommend that you put in a case so that we can look at what your situation is and we can make the appropriate adjustments. John, could you put up the slide which showed the other Magnolia updates quickly? We had a request for that. We had another question about that flows back to Lily, and that was about the account limits that we have for the GL accounting variables and the GL accounts. Our executive management team is still reviewing that, and they are working on making a determination on exactly how that will be implemented. So right now it's a to be determined. I don't know the exact specifications yet. So, but when we do, I'm sure that they will be communicated out to all parties. And we had another request, Aparna, if you could quickly share the new accounting home wireframe. All right.
All right. I would like to thank everyone for their participation, and I will give everyone 21 minutes back. Thank you for attending our webinar.
Thank you all.